What if the moment you feel most completely alone is actually the most psychologically significant moment of your entire life? Not because suffering is noble, not because isolation builds character in some vague motivational sense, but because Carl Jung discovered something about the human psyche that almost nobody talks about, something that will completely reframe what it means to have no one. Stay with me, because what Jung found in his own darkest period of isolation will change how you see yours forever. Jung himself experienced what he later called his confrontation with the unconscious, years of profound psychological isolation following his break with Freud, where he had virtually no intellectual support, no community, no one who understood what he was exploring. He didn't just survive it, he produced some of the most transformative psychological insights in human history from inside it. What he discovered during that period became a roadmap, 5 specific psychological strategies for not just enduring isolation, but using it as the most powerful catalyst for transformation available to the human mind. Here's what most people never learn, and by the end of this you'll understand exactly why having no one might be the beginning of everything. Here's the first thing Jung discovered, and it will stop most people who find themselves without support do one of 2 things. They frantically search for replacement connections to fill the void, or they collapse inward, becoming consumed by the pain of abandonment. Jung called both of these unconscious reactions responses driven entirely by the wound rather than by psychological intelligence. What he proposed instead was something he called conscious descent. Rather than fleeing the emptiness or drowning in it, Jung said the psychologically sophisticated move is to enter it deliberately, to turn toward the isolation with full awareness and ask it what it contains. Because Jung discovered that loneliness, when approached unconsciously, is just suffering, but when approached with intention, it becomes what he called the threshold, the entry point into the deeper layers of the psyche that noise, distraction, and constant social contact permanently block. The people who have no support are standing at a door most people never find. The strategy isn't to walk away from it, it's to walk through. This is where Jung's method becomes absolutely concrete. And this is the strategy that changes everything. During his years of isolation, Jung developed a practice he called active imagination, a structured psychological technique for making direct contact with the contents of your own unconscious mind. Here's what that means in practice. You sit, you silence the noise, and instead of trying to think your way out of the pain, you allow the images, the figures, the emotional material that lives beneath your conscious awareness to surface, and you engage with it. You write it down, you draw it, you speak to it directly. Jung discovered that the unconscious communicates in symbols, in dreams, in recurring emotional patterns. And when you have no external support, no one to process with, no therapist or friend to hold your experience, the unconscious becomes your most reliable source of guidance. What most people do when they're alone is drown in the surface of their pain. What Jung's strategy teaches is to dive beneath it. Because underneath the surface pain, he consistently found something that stunned him. Not chaos, but a deep intelligence moving toward wholeness. Your psyche knows where it needs to go. Active imagination is how you learn that will make you deeply uncomfortable, and that discomfort is precisely the point. Jung discovered that periods of isolation strip away the social performances we rely on to avoid ourselves. When there's no one to impress, no one to manage, no one to perform okayness for, what remains is the raw, unfiltered psychological material we spend most of our lives running from. He called this the shadow, the collection of everything we've suppressed, denied, or deemed unacceptable about ourselves. And here's what Jung understood that almost no one wants to hear. The shadow doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It grows. It starts operating from underneath your conscious awareness, driving decisions you can't explain, attracting dynamics you can't understand, repeating patterns you swore you'd broken. But in isolation, in the specific silence that comes when external support disappears, the shadow becomes visible, not because you sought it, but because there's nothing left to hide behind. Jung's strategy isn't to pathologize what you find there. It's to recognize it as the unlived parts of yourself, the anger you were never allowed to express, the needs you learned to bury, the desires you were taught to be ashamed of. Every single one of them contains energy. Reclaiming them doesn't make you darker. According to Jung, it makes you more whole than you've ever been. This is the strategy Jung considered the most misunderstood, and it's the one that separates people who survive isolation from those who are transformed by it. Jung observed that most people who lack external support experience what he called psychic inflation or collapse. They either lose themselves in grandiose fantasies to escape the pain, or they contract into a narrative of helplessness that feels permanent and total. Both are the psyche's attempt to cope with the unbearable absence of mirroring, the basic human need to have our existence reflected back to us by others. But Jung discovered a radical alternative. He called it building the inner citadel. This is the deliberate, conscious construction of an internal world rich enough to sustain you. Not escapism, not fantasy, but the serious, structured development of a relationship with your own values, your own symbolic language, your own psychological architecture. Jung did this through his journals, through his paintings, through what became the Red Book, a document of extraordinary inner life created entirely without external validation. The strategy is this: when no one reflects you back, you learn to reflect yourself. And what Jung found was that people who develop this capacity don't just survive the absence of support. They eventually become so psychologically self-contained that dependence on constant external validation simply falls away. Not because they stop wanting connection, but because they've built something inside themselves that cannot be taken by anyone's absence. Here's the final strategy, and this is the one that will completely rewrite how you understand what you're living through right now. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming a complete, authentic, psychologically integrated self, almost never happens in comfort. It almost never happens in community. It happens in exactly the conditions you're in right now. He observed that the people who had been forced into isolation, who had lost their support structures, who had been left without the scaffolding of other people's approval and presence, those people, when they engaged their situation consciously, underwent the most profound and irreversible psychological transformations he ever witnessed. Because here is what Jung understood at the deepest level. Other people, as much as we need them, also function as mirrors that can trap us. We become who they see us as. We stay within the boundaries of their perception of us. We edit ourselves continuously for the audience. When that audience disappears, something terrifying happens, and something extraordinary follows. You are left with the only version of yourself that has always existed beneath all that editing. The self that was never performed, never curated, never shaped by the need to be understood. Jung called this the encounter with the authentic self, and he said, clearly, directly, without softening it, that most people spend their entire lives surrounded by others and never have it. You are not without support because you failed. You are not alone because you are unworthy. According to Carl Jung's lifetime of research into the deepest structures of the human psyche, you are at the exact threshold where the most significant psychological work of your life becomes possible. The silence isn't empty. It's the first language your authentic self has ever had a chance to speak in. And if you learn to listen, really listen, what you'll hear will be more reliable, more intelligent, and more transformative than anything any external support could have given you. This is not consolation. This is the psychology of becoming whole,